So the first thing I'd like to do is take a look at taking a snapshot of your site in the past. So if we come over here to the site browser and we come down to TimeMachine, this is where you'll find that new feature. So we're going to take a snapshot of the past, and then I'll talk to you about some limitations of taking a snapshot, what actually gets bundled up, where it gets bundled up. So you can see there is a past or future setting for your snapshot. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to Settings over here on the right hand side. After I click on Settings, I need to choose a host. So I'm just going to do demo.dotCMS.com. This is running on my local machine. And I add him. I could include all hosts, but I'm just going to do this one guy so it doesn't take too long. So now after you choose a website and you choose the language, then here is the cron expression where you would set up how often you want this snapshot to be taken. So I'm going to choose this little cron expression to take a snapshot every day at 1 a.m. So then I'm going to choose the save and run now. Before I do that, I'm going to come over here to my log for my local guy. I'm just going to clear that so we can see him run, and I'm going to click save and run now, and we can see that this guy is starting to run. We'll come back to him in just a minute, but as we do that, I wanted to show you where he's getting built. So the second that we did that, here I've got this fresh checkout here of dotCMS, and if we take a look, this is where I've got my local instance installed. Inside the dotCMS, inside assets, you can see this TimeMachine folder, and this is where my my object is being built, and the bundle is being built. So I'm taking this snapshot. He is right now getting all bundled up. Now, what kind of snapshot are we taking of the site, and what are the limitations of it? Well, if you take a snapshot, it is taking a flat view, it is generating all of the HTML, but it is not dynamic. So if your site is very velocity driven and dynamic, you've got to take it into consideration that velocity is not going to, you're not going to have a dynamic site that can react to clicks and then check something in velocity and then return. It is only static HTML page which are being bundled up. So that is a limitation to the TimeMachine snapshot. But it can be very useful for disaster recovery. So if you need to bring back a site, you don't have you build your sites in a way that they don't have a lot of velocity, and you can simply point to a bundle. I'm going to show how to actually set up a little Apache server here locally and give an example of that and how we can actually hit this snapshot of this site. So I'm just taking a look, and it does say that the publisher has completed, and so I've got this TimeMachine bundle. And if we go back to the TimeMachine, we can see that this has been all bundled up here, and I've got my working and I've got my live, and then there's a little script that we're going to run to get this guy up and viewable from an Apache server, and I'll show you that in just a little bit. So now that I've got that snapshot, I'm going to just simply refresh the TimeMachine, and after we do that, we will see that we have this previous snapshot. So not only can we now choose this snapshot that was just done, and then of course you can do snapshots in multiple languages. So you choose a language, we can now see this static view of this site and be able to click around this this static flat view of our site. And so I can go to About Us and preview what is in my snapshot. So if you wanted to even just take a historical look at your site and see what it looked like, 3 weeks ago, a month ago, 2 months ago, and check it for even your own, QA within your organization, see what was there, what's now missing, if something was changed, it's good for that, and you can look at it here on the back end and compare past and present, and also, like I said, have the static HTML there recorded and use it for a disaster recovery mechanism. So to show how to kind of do that on a server, what I'm going to do is now take this snapshot that I've created, and we're going to go ahead and set that up on Apache server. So to take a look here at my system preferences and go to sharing, and so I've already selected here on Mac OS, it has Apache, and we can just click web sharing, and you can see that my personal computer web address is 10.1.1.180. I have already gone into the command line over here. I've sudoed, sudo -i, and I've done a little echo test index.html so that I can see the make sure that my Apache server is working. So here I'm getting tests, so it looks like I'm ready to go and run a script that is right here. I'm going to show you an example. We do have, in addition to our documentation on the TimeMachine, there is here in the code share site, there is a little snippet of code that you can use to publish a static copy of your site to an Apache server. So this is the exact code that I'm going to use, and the only thing that I'm going to change is the path to my local TimeMachine bundle. And so that's the only thing I've changed. Otherwise, my Apache root is right here at Library Web Server Documents. This is where you're going to take this script. It's going to take my bundle and basically publish it, here on my Apache server. So stepping back to here, I'm going to now do a VI. Okay, and then I'm just going to paste some code that I have here prepared in Evernote. And place that right here. And you can see that this is my path to my specific checkout right here on the top. Otherwise, the code is exactly the same. So now I'm just going to then save this. Okay. Okay. So after he finishes running, now I will be able to then come back to hit my Safari server here, and I hit the same URL I hit before, and now I've got that static copy of the site that is pure flat HTML. Once again, if you build a site that is extremely velocity driven and dynamic, whenever you click on things that are dynamic, that velocity code's not going to execute. So, but if you hit things like our team, products, flat HTML pages that can be presented, now you've got a method for instantly switching to this static copy of your site and bringing it up instantly as a disaster recovery method, or just simply a way to take an eyeball back and see back in time what your site looked like at a specific time. So in addition to that, in addition to taking these snapshots that you, once again, cron job and set up to run as many times, per night or per day as you wish, you can also take a look into the future on a site and schedule content to be published in the future. So just taking a look at that, there's a couple things that need to be set up to make that happen. So the first thing I want to take a look at is the structure that I've set up over here. Yeah. So whenever you leave this page in the time machine, the correct way to leave is, here I'm going to stay on this page. I will actually go back into my snapshot and show you the right way that you want to leave the shot is the snapshot and make sure that you have actually executed the time machine properly. There's, it'll give you a little warning saying, hey, would you like to leave and close the snapshot, and it'll do it. To do future time machine, to enable content to actually publish in the future, how does that work? Now, we've already covered the past, we've already covered up bringing one of your time machine bundles up on Apache server, but what is this looking at your site in the future? What I've done is I've set up on the generic content structure, and you can do this on any structure. It's entirely optional. It is not a default way that dotCMS works. You can opt to do this. Here actually, yeah, I'm going to add these fields here. There are properties here on the generic content on any structure that you can set up. You can see that there is no publish date or expire date at all right now on the generic content structure. I'm using the generic content structure because that's already what's formatted to all of our containers on the starter site. Only if you actually configure the publish date and expire date field will you actually have the capacity to save a piece of content and have it automatically publish itself and unpublish itself at some future date. Right now, if I can create all the generic content I want and simply, save and publish it because it's got the default workflow scheme. But I'm going to add a couple of fields, and you need to know that whenever you add a field that you're going to configure under that publish and expire property on the structure, they need to be date and time fields. So I'm going to create a new date and time field on the generic content structure. I'm going to put publish, I guess, make it required, sure, show and listing. And then I'm going to add another one to have it expire. So another date and time field, and we'll put expire. Okay, so I've got now a date and time field. I've got two of them. They are, set up so that they're formatted properly so that I can use. The only thing that this will actually pick up over here on the publish date field property on a structure, or the expire date field, they will pick up date and time fields only. It'll pick up all of them. You can see we're seeing both of them. Obviously, I'm going to choose the publish field. We could name it whatever we want. You don't have to name them publish or expire. You'd say unpublish in the future, whatever you want. Obviously, publish and expire seem to make sense to me, so that's what I'm going to format to be my official publish date field and expire date field for the future on future scheduled content publishing. So I'm going to save that on the structure. Now the second I do that, I can come over here to Site Browser, and I want to actually place some content. I've already set up a Time Machine folder and an index page that we can hit. And we're just going to create some content and see how now adding content behaves just a little bit differently. So I'm going to click Add Content, New Content. And I've got some content here that I'm just going to copy and paste right here. And I'm going to copy this into the title. And so I've said this is today's relevant content, which expires on 8/31. So I'm going to, for publish date, I'm going to just set it for, I'll set it for yesterday, so we don't have a problem with the date and time field. That means, as long as I go ahead and set it prior to the current, time, it's not future, I can publish it. So I'm setting it yesterday to 10 a.m. This is, there's going to be no way that I'm choosing a forward time, past the current time. So it's going to auto-publish. And then I can choose never here, or I can, choose a date, which I said in the content title I'm going to do. So I'm going to choose August 31st and whatever time. That's fine. Okay, now I can save and publish. But I'm going to show you how if you try to save and publish something that is set for the future, it's actually going to disallow it, because by those fields, and by those fields being actually configured on the structure, you're saying that you are going, if you set a future date, it's not for publishing right now. A future date is for publishing in the future. So now we're going to set a future piece of content that should publish. And let me actually step over to the structure so it's a little bit more visible, and let me change these fields just to be up at the top here. So I'll put the publish right underneath the title of the expire. Okay. So here we'll add new content. I'm going to paste that new content here. This one is going to publish on July 1st and expire at the end of July. So I'm going to put that into the title. And watch what happens. July 1st and expire whatever time, and expire the 31st. I'll take off the never. And July 31st, whenever. Now, if I try to publish this right now, it's actually going to generate an error that says that you can't publish something that you're trying to actually schedule for publishing in the future. So you should automatically save that content. So it is saved. If we look at, live, it is not live right now. It's just waiting there to be published in the future. And we'll do the same with another piece of content. Create new. And we'll set this other piece of content to publish on July 15th, and we'll kind of be able to see, content appearing and not appearing based upon dates here in the future time machine. So I'm going to set this guy up for July 15th and expire on 8/31, the same as the other. And once again, I can't choose a save and publish. I'm going to have to hit save. Okay, so now we've got some content on this page. I did make sure that this folder had an index page was reachable from my Time Machine view here in my menu. So now I'm going to go back to the Time Machine and now choose Future. And now I just pick a date. So if I wanted to pick something that would just show today's, well, let me see today's content and the one that publishes on July 1st. So then I'll pick July 2nd and English. And let's see if we're getting two pieces of content now whenever we go to Time Machine and we go to Scheduled Content Publishing, which was a page. So now I'm looking at my site in the future, even though this content over here on the left-hand side is not currently published at all, but in the future it will be published, so my Time Machine gives me the future view of that content published on my site. And so I can see what it's going to look like whenever I got some promotion coming up for, the holidays, whatever the case may be, and you can take a forward look and see what your site's going to look like in the future. Okay, looking in the future, so if I look at July 18th and I look in English, there we I wanted to make sure that after the 15th I could actually see both of these pieces of content. So, but here you can see if we choose a forward date that's beyond this published date and beyond this published date, I can see that here he is showing. Let me go ahead and make sure that this guy now, if we go after the 31st of July, these two should still show, but this one should disappear. So if I set this now to August 1st, and I go back to the time machine and that same page. So now he disappears, and I see these two exactly the way that we should be seeing them based upon the dates that we set for the future publishing and unpublishing. So that is the future time machine, and that is how you can take a look at your site in the past and in the future, and set those up as even nightly processes, bring up a previous site as disaster recovery.